Hey guys, so today we're going to do a real quick bird level overview of what the adoption process looks like from start to finish. And again, this is a process that will probably take a minimum of 12 months and could take several years. So the first thing you're going to do, as we've mentioned in other videos, is contact either a private agency that you've picked, such as Families First, Bethany Christian Services, and others, or reach out to state DFACS to begin the process for orientation. So that number is 1-877-210-KIDS. That they will take your information and then filter it down to your local county DFACS, who will contact you for orientation class. So once that's done, you attend orientation class either with DFACS or with your private agency. Once that is done, you will take impact training, which is the training class to kind of help get your mind around what you're going to go through and educate you on cultural differences, etc. So that's, I believe, a 24-hour class. It's usually broken up into a couple weekends, or they also have evening classes that take a little bit longer. Once that is complete, then you're going to begin filling out your information packets. And this is a lot of information. There's lots of questionnaires, there's releases for background checks, a lot of information you're going to give them that they'll then use in the next step, which is your home study. The home study causes a lot of stress for people, but that is it's home visits. There's usually 3 to 4. They're usually done in quick succession, and a lot of interview questions, both individually and as a couple, if you're married, that the caseworker will ask you to kind of see, how prepared you are and what maybe they need to get you help on. Once the home study is done, and that process, what takes the longest is actually writing it. So when they get that information, they go back and write it all up. Michael, I had a really great video going. Now I'm going to have to filter it out. Get out. My child just came in and interrupted me. So what takes the longest time there is the process of writing. Once that's all done, you go for state approval and agency approval if you're working with an agency. At that point, your home is approved to be open. And from there, you begin the matching process. So matching process can be anywhere from, looking at the photo listing sites like Adopt Us Kids and It's My Turn Now, Georgia. You can attend adoption events and adoption parties. Those are great ways to meet kids and also meet caseworkers, to network with them, or even possibly, sometimes your caseworkers can know other caseworkers and they know people are a good fit and they can match that way, but that's less common. Once you're matched, then you begin the process to see how much of a match that is. And the first process is to do a file review. So that is when you go in and they literally give you a copy of the file. You go over it there in the office, you read over it. You want to look for words you don't understand or things that concern you and ask your caseworker. Also, they should have reviewed it before you came in, so they should probably already have a list of flags that they see as concerns as well. So you want to discuss that. Typically, you go home that night, you haven't made a decision, and you give a response to them a day or two later after you're really able to kind of digest everything. If you proceed forward after looking at the file review, then you go to what's called a staffing, and that's where everybody who's involved with the kid comes together. So that is you, if you have an agency representing you, their DFACS caseworker, a regional adoption coordinator, and depending on where the child is currently living, you'll either have their current foster family or a group home representative. And what you do at that meeting is really hash out the day-to-day. You learn what makes the kid tick, good things, bad things, how to handle, maybe what are some triggers, so you can make sure that you are aware of that and deal with it. So it really helps you set up for success. And then at that meeting, again, if everything's moving forward, they go ahead and actually schedule your visitations, and usually they can happen the very next day. And you also go ahead and set an entire visitation schedule up and then a planned day for the child to move in with you. So then visitations happen, and visitations usually happen over several weeks to maybe a couple months, depending on if it's in school year or the summer. From that point, you will do your visitations. They get increasingly longer to kind of transition you guys to living together, and then the child moves in with you. Once the child has moved in with you, you're under a supervised visitation period. So DFACS will visit you if you have an agency. They'll visit you on a monthly basis, just check in, make sure see how things are going, connect you with service providers, community, to help support you through that process. And typically that lasts a minimum of 4 months, but it's pretty common for them to stick to a 6-month time period of supervised visits. After that time is passed, they give you a release to finalize. You give that to your attorney, and your attorney files for a court date. And then court is usually about 1 to 2 months after that happens. So once you finalize, you are done. You're free of everybody, no more visitations, you don't have to, you're done with the process. And then you just go about your new life, raising your child. So again, that process we just ran through is about a 12-month minimum process and could be even longer. The two things that usually take the longest for families are going through the early stages. So make sure you get your packets completed and turned in quickly. And then during the home study process, be the squeaky wheel. Email, if you don't hear from your caseworker, email them at least once a week and just check in and make sure that you're getting taken care of, because that is when a lot of things fall apart as well. And then the next phase is the matching phase, and that really is very independent on you and your family. If you guys have a very narrow child criteria, then it's probably going to take you longer to find a child, and that's understandable, and that's completely understandable. But again, there's also times when you can be the squeaky wheel. If you have a wider range of children you're looking at, get out there, advocate for yourself, go to these parties, network with caseworkers, let people know who you are, and that will speed up the process a lot. That's what my husband and I did, and that's what other people we know did that matched and went through the process really fast. We were almost a year to the date for the process for us, so it can be done, and the people who get it done quicker are doing a little more of the legwork on their own and following up.